Northern New York Community Podcasts, stories from the heart of our community. Thanks for checking out the Northern New York Community Podcast. I'm your host, Max Del Signor, and joining me today as well is the Executive Director of the Northern New York Community Foundation, Randy Richardson. We have a special edition of the show right here for you. Philanthropy is happening in the North Country every day, and the acts of giving can come in any size, but they are always powerful. The story of Harold and Sally LaHoulier touches on the true meaning of community philanthropy, the values, the lessons, and the importance of giving back. As we listen to their story, I would encourage you to pull out some of the best lessons you can apply to your own form of community philanthropy. Now, Harold and Sally are natives of the North Country, and we're thrilled to have them here and joining us today. So I think it would be best to start from the very beginning, and I think one of the most interesting aspects of your story is that you both grew up during the Great Depression era in the North Country. Now, you lived in different communities, but not too far away from each other. What do you remember about growing up in the North Country during that era of time?
Well, I remember back in those days, most people didn't have much, and everybody always helped each other out. And it was instilled in me as I was growing up, to always help people the best way you could. And I've tried to do that all my life. I've always tried to help people. And and Harold will tell about all the rationing and
during the war. Mm-hmm. Second World War was really, really something. It put a lot of people behind as far as earning money and having certain foods, and there weren't any new cars. There were tire rationing. There weren't even rubber in those days. They were synthetic. And oil and gas, you had to have coupons for, and they put the coupon sticker on your windshield. You didn't pump your gas then. They had an attendant come out, and you could only get a certain amount of gas on that coupon. It was it's really strange. But as growing up as a kid, I remember getting a quarter for an allowance, and in those days you could get in the movies for about that price. And I said, so every Sunday I used to go to the movies. I wasn't far from the Olympic Theater on State Street. I used to go there, and of course we used to go to the old Avon too. But as far as philanthropy, my folks helped other people. My grandmother and grandfather helped us because in those days we didn't have very much money. My father wasn't making much, and during the Depression, nobody was taking taxi cabs, and he was a cab driver. So, but you gave what you could to other people that were worse off, and it's something you learn, and it stays with you for an awful long time. Now that we're able to be philanthropists, it's really enjoyable, I'll tell you.
You shared some good examples from when you were kids of some of the things that your parents did or you did together as families. Were there certain messages or things that they would say to you just to kind of emphasize, listen, this is why we need to help families that are in need or help others that maybe are in a more challenging situation than we are?
We were more in need than people that we knew. We didn't really know that many people as kids, but well, growing up and going to school, you knew which ones that needed help, and you did what you could for them. And of course, in those days, Watertown seemed separated by, like the north side was the poor side and the south side was the rich side, and neither two could meet. I don't know. It was that way in those days. It's like segregation.
Tell you remember any things your parents told you as you were growing up? You know, they obviously demonstrated their own ways of giving back in the community and neighbors helping neighbors, but did they ever impart anything to you just to remember as you were getting older?
No, not that I remember. The family, my father came from a big family, and all the holidays we would get together at my grandmother's for big family dinners. And, I do remember people talking about so-and-so isn't doing that well, and, people are helping and things like that. But they never, as far as I remember, they didn't say anything specifically, but I just remember, them talking about helping people when they needed help, and to always remember that, but they didn't always say it.
Yeah. I remember when my uncle and his wife had 4 kids, and they were having a hard time making go of things, and our parents helped them as best they could. And you learn from that. You don't give up on your relatives.
No.
And you don't give up on your friends. If a friend needed $1, you gave them the $1. But in those days, nobody had much money. And the money back then it was worth more than it is today, too. Like a quarter was worth a quarter. Today it's worth, what, 10 cents? And, but it was great. I don't know, and then when we got to the 50s, that was really great.
Well, and that's interesting, because my next question was thinking about that next era after World War II was over with. And something you had mentioned previously was just, I don't know if it was a great relief, but you could just sense the spirits of the communities kind of being lifted up, because that era, that chapter in the country's history had ended.
Well, the economy was picking up real good, because they had to make stuff that they couldn't make before. And then we had a different president, and we had more jobs and we had more factories here at the time, and a lot of people went back to work making things.
There were a lot more manufacturing companies back then, in those days, a lot.
The 50s were just so much fun to grow up. You didn't have a lot of crime. You didn't have poverty as much as you do today. And everybody just was happy and twiddly-dee.
Yeah, kind of carefree. Now, Harold, you graduated from Immaculate Heart Academy, correct? 1950.
Yeah.
And you entered the Army right away for the Korean War?
No? I went to work for Fred Sherrin Radio. I worked there after school nights anyway, and weekends. And I went, after school, I went to work for him for 2 years. Then I got drafted.
Okay.
And I went to Camp Gordon, it was, and went to radio school for 6 months, which I really didn't need. But I had to learn their equipment, so that really did help. And so I fixed radios all the time I was in the Army.
Well, what was that education like for you, working early on, then heading into the Army and continuing that?
It was very interesting. I really enjoyed it very much. The only thing I didn't enjoy was basic training. Throwing hand grenades, shooting 50 caliber guns, and crawling under barbed wire with bullets flying over your head.
Well, what's that for you psychologically? You know, being a very young in your 20s, early 20s, and being drafted.
Well, I'd never been away from home before, and it was kind of scary. But you got you blended in, and you got used to it, so it really didn't bother you much. And we got lots of time off. Like we could go out nights on a pass, or weekends on a pass in the little towns next door. And we could go have pizza and pizza, and we had a great time. And then they moved everybody from Fort. It was called Camp Gordon. We moved us up to Fort Monmouth, and we were there for 6 months, and I got discharged. But they took the whole company, and we drove our own cars up, and of course I went with friends. I didn't have a car then, and we went back into fixing radios right as soon as we got there. So it was like getting up. You get up at Reveille, because then you have to form formation, but then you have breakfast, then you go to work, come back, have taps, go to bed. It's really something.
It's good that you never lost, there never was a break really in your education or love for radios. and getting a chance to kind of dabble in that. Where did that interest originally come from?
I don't know. I could tinker with things and fix them, and I thought, radio, well, let's see. There's only a bunch of tubes in there. Supposing I take the tubes out, we could take them in. I forgot where you could take them, get them tested, and see if they're any good. And you replace the bad ones, give them back the radio. But a lot of times, if there's a circuit problem, then I wasn't too used to that. But tubes, yeah.
It was an easier job if it was just the tubes.
Same with television. When they first came out, they were all tubes. Glass picture tube. Actually, they started out with a metal picture tube with the high voltage around the metal on. And you couldn't get anywhere near that thing. Especially with it apart, I mean.
Sally, your folks had a furniture store.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting is the number of locations that they had. I mean, you really kind of spanned the North Country. What was it like for your parents having furniture stores across 3 counties?
Well, my father's father started it in Casterland, New York. And then they eventually moved to Watertown, and they did just have the one store. The building is still there. It's the corner of Newell and Mill Street.
It's an old stone building. It's got a stone front to it.
My brother and I used to help them. My father paid us a penny for each
button you sewed on the mattress.
Yeah, well, they had a piece of twine attached to the button, and those went in the mattresses, and so we got paid a penny for each button that we put the twine through, and so we were always spent a lot of time at the store, and then yes, eventually they expanded to other cities in northern New York. It was Watertown, Potsdam, Lowville, Governor, and Carthage. And that's where I spent a lot of time. But then my father was asked to join in Fackney Instrument, and they made clinical glass thermometers. During the war, it was a big thing. They were awarded all kinds of Army and Navy Excellence Awards. When I graduated from high school, my father was at Fackney's. I went to college for a year, and I came back and I went to the Watertown School of Commerce for 2 years. I was always interested in office work, typing, shorthand, business, and so I took the 2-year course for accounting at the Watertown School of Commerce. And then I was supposed to go for an interview at a place, but my father wanted me to work for him. So I worked at Fackney's until I was married, and until I had our first child, Brian. And then I stopped. Well, I still did some homework for them, but that was my story. When I was working, I did well all the time. I didn't have much money, but there would be different local organizations that I would donate to, and they were local ones and ones I believed in. And so I did used to do that, but I didn't have much money then, so it wasn't a lot, but I did keep it up, and I hope I've been a help.
Why did you feel compelled to give at that time?
I just wanted to. I know some of the animal organizations. I love animals, and I like the local SPCA, the local Salvation Army, the DPAO. I just felt better if I could help somebody that needed some help, and so I just felt better when I could help somebody. And then when we lost our son to a drunk driver, and he had been past a commander of the Sons of Legion for a few years, and they had always wanted to start a scholarship fund for families of Sons of Legion members and family. When we lost him, we asked, instead of flowers, if people would like to donate money to help start a scholarship fund for the Sons of Legion family members, and that's how that got started. And Brian loved teaching at BOCES, and I had always thought highly of BOCES because people were able to learn trades there, and they had a lot of very good courses there so we started a scholarship fund there to help anybody that wanted to go and didn't have the money to go.
It's still going.
And,
it's still going.
And at the same time, we received an insurance check from the driver of the car that our son was in when he was killed, and we decided to invest that and take the interest every year and donate it to a local charity. And we picked DPAO because we knew Joe Rich, and we knew he's worked hard all his life for them, and we wanted to do that. So every year we take the interest from it and donate it to him. And then a little bit later, we were fortunate to meet Randy Richardson of the Northern New York Community Foundation, and Brian's scholarships are now endowed there, so we know they'll go on in perpetuity. And Randy always also helped us to realize about local organizations and local funds that would help people, and that's what I enjoy anyway, mostly doing helping local people. And there's so many people out of work and so many homeless people that and the Bridge program, Urban Mission has helped a great deal with that, and I donate a lot of clothes to them, and we took all of Brian had a lot of nice winter jackets, and we donated those to Urban Mission for people that couldn't afford jackets. So that's...
Yeah, what's it? Urban Mission's other name is...
the Bridge program.
No, where they buy the stuff from the...
Oh, the store.
Impossible Dream.
Store. What is it?
The Impossible Dream.
Impossible Dream.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
remember taking clothes in the Impossible Dream too, and they were glad to get them. But I don't know. It's always we've always wanted to donate to people that needed it, and I'm not one to donate to national organizations, especially the ones that call you on the phone all the time. You send them some money, and next thing you know, you got a letter in the mail wanting more. So we said, well, I guess they weren't happy with that, so we'll just stick to home.
In that respect, Harold and Sally, I want to ask you a question related to that. When you give to an organization, you make the decision to give, what are your expectations on the part of that organization in terms of what you need to know from them as far as whether you would consider giving again or that you felt good about the gift that you gave?
Well, we make sure they help other people with the money we donate to them. And we get information from a certain man that's sitting right there, making sure we give to the right ones, and ones that he knows are going to use it the right way, and not these national organizations that use it for parties and advertising and all this other thing. That's why I don't like to give to national.
And they bombard you in the mail.
And they bombard you in the mail,
Tons of
on the
mail,
phone.
phone calls.
Yeah.
No, you can tell most of the local organizations, even by just reading the paper, when they put on different
fundraisers.
Different, like the Salvation Army puts different breakfasts on for people, and you can see different things that go on. And with the bridge program, we donate to that every year because they're trying to help. We've actually seen results there where they try to help people with their addictions. And but I think you can tell pretty much with the local ones when you see different things that they're doing. I think you kind of know that they're using your money the way you want them to.
How has philanthropy and the way you've given back directly impacted the North Country? And how do you feel that giving makes the North Country more vibrant as a whole?
I don't know, it makes you feel good for one thing. And it feels good to be able to do it. And knowing that you're helping other people, it's really something. We've got so many different charities that we donate to, but we've been cutting back on the nationals and going more for the local. And I think keeping the money at home is a lot more important. Of course, there are some national charities that really do use the money the way you'd like, but it's far and few between.
Tell them about Best Friends.
Oh, yeah. There is an organization out, it's Utah.
Best Friends Animal Sanctuary.
They have 30,000 acres, and they take care of all these different kind of animals. They rescue them, and they find homes for them. They have veterinarians there. We were out there one time when we visited friends. It's the most wonderful place I ever saw. And we donate to them every year, and they don't bug us for money.
No.
Well, there's clearly a trigger there with the organizations you've helped before. There's something there that inspires you to kind of demonstrate your support. What are some of the triggers, or what are the things that you see that has inspired you to give the way that you have?
Well, some that you see the results of what they do, like SPCA, they're doing a pretty good job with the animals there. Oh, Salvation Army. I don't know, I've always donated to them. Because I figure they're there to help people, and they sure do a lot for them. It's a semi-religious thing, but they do a lot of work for other people, and that's what I like to see. Who else do we give to this?
A lot of local.
Well, we give to the Historical Society, trying to keep them afloat, but
the library.
The library, we donate hundreds of books of crack. They come up with their truck sometimes to pick them up. My wife has quite a collection of them.
I think what's interesting too with the two of you is you've always had those values of giving back kind of within you. Now that you've been on this journey together for 58 years, that you've done a lot of this giving together too, and I feel like it seems as if it's more impactful.
Yeah.
How did the two of you meet?
Oh, well.
Can you share that story?
Yeah, I was in a vending business for about a year, and after the fellow I used to work for, Fred Sharon, died, the business kind of folded, and these other people asked me to work on their vending machines, and they sent me to school for it. So I went and did that, and I came back and was working at. They had me delivering you had to service machines. They were strictly coffee machines. They had cream, sugar, and water and coffee, liquid coffee. They're all in this refrigerated unit. So when you put the money in, the unit would drop a cup of coffee and it'd be all set for you to eat or drink. One of the places I did a lot of paper mills because they had them in a lot of paper mills. But Factory Instrument was one of them. they had one up in their rec room, and I have to go there every morning to service it because you can't have sour cream in it. So I'd see her sitting at the front desk. She was she'd greet people, and she's also a secretary there too. So once in a while she'd come up and have a coffee with me while I was there, and then she kept coming up every time I was there, and I said, well, that's nice. She's cute little girl. And she volunteered for the church, Holy Family, and they wanted her to do a survey on Catholic parishioners and get their feeling about church. I guess that's what it was about. And she brought along her girlfriend when she came to my house on Winslow Street in Watertown. And I said, wow, I wonder which one is after me. And I said, I know it's one of them. So one day I was out front washing my car. You could wash them out in the street in those days. And she come flying by in her Oldsmobile. And I said, wow, I wonder what she's up to. So I got in my car and took off after her. We wound up on the Black River Road near the old doghouse. It's a
Hot dog stand.
Coffee and stuff. And we got out of the cars and we were talking, and she says, I asked her, says, how'd you like to go for coffee? So we went over to the doghouse, had coffee, and we went from there to the movies, and then to dinners, and then to the church, the altar.
We went together for 2 years.
We went together for
before
2
that.
years. In those days, you had to do what the church wanted you to do, as far as what they call the bands of marriage.
Bands of marriage.
That kept you away for a while.
Well, we used to go to dinner a lot, though.
We did a lot of. We went out to dinner a lot. Of course, in those days, you had restaurants everywhere, and they were all good too. And we went to the movies a lot. We used to go to the drive-in. I had this car that was a Nash Ambassador Special. It had 3 different colors. It had Continental on the back. Well, we'd go to the drive-in, and the seats folded back into all flat all across. So we'd sit in the back seat looking at the movies. We'd bring our own popcorn and soda.
So, Sally, are all these stories true?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm those
No,
for the record.
Oh yeah, we had a lot of fun. Well, of course, in those days we didn't drink much, did we?
No.
I don't think we were.
I
we were in our 20s.
I never did much.
One thing you noted, though, in that era of time, and there are a few of them today, are the family restaurants.
Yes.
Local institutions run by local
Yeah,
families.
Gorgeous was one of them. That was a terrific movie or a restaurant. We went to a lot of places together, and then we went with friends. We had a lot of friends in the 50s, and we all used to hang out together sometimes. And one couple, we went to Messina to see the Eisenhower Lock up there. It was built during in the 50s when we were going together. So, yeah, we got married in 58. Well, it was 58, yeah. And it was quite a time, I'll tell you. I loved the 50s. The 60s, it started going downhill.
Well, during the period of time after you were married, you worked together at Cole TV.
Yeah, she did.
So where was the shop located?
Well, it started on 451 Arsenal Street, and it's still there, that old brick building on the corner of Meadow and Arsenal. We were in the store on the left-hand side. We were only there a year, and I wasn't making the money much to pay the rent, so we put the shop in our cellar on Myrtle Avenue. We had a house there that we bought from her father, and so we had the shop in there. I'd work 7 days a week, nights and everything down there, fixing radios. Fixing televisions
mostly.
Too. Yeah, we used to get televisions from her father's furniture store. They bring them down from Governor and all over to be fixed. We had a side door on the driveway and bring them downstairs, fix them. The neighbors complained about the business being in the house, so we had to move it. So I went to Glen Park with it, and I had it for 2 or 3 years there. And Neil Butler had a furniture store on State Street, and I used to fix his televisions because he was selling them too. And one day he came to me and he says, you know, he says, I want to go out of business and retire. And he says, how would you like to buy my building? So I bought his building. I got a good deal on it, and I had it for 19 years, I think. And finally, I got tired of the business. I got burned out, really. And I retired, and I rented it out. I made more money renting it out than I made in the business.
Well, that was when all the big box stores came
yeah,
in.
the
it
competition
was hard competing.
Even competing with just repairmen, there were so many of them around. And the sales, it just didn't make sense anymore. So.
Elaborate on that a little bit for the younger audience that may not understand the era of time. When customers or business would come and approach you, how did you market yourself? How did those folks come to get their items or their TVs and radios fixed by you?
Well, they'd come in the door. We did some advertising, Yellow Pages, and
newspaper.
Newspaper. And I remember, what was his name that used to be on the radio? He came into the store, and we would do a commercial with him. He lived on Flower Avenue West.
Ward Hamilton.
Yeah. It wasn't. Wait a minute, it wasn't Ward Hamilton.
Was it?
Was it?
Oh.
No. It's like Danny Burgess, only the other guy. Well, anyway, yeah, we did advertising to get people all. And on 2 weeks before Christmas every year, we had a truckload sale out in front. We put a whole big one of these Young's trucking truck right in front with the doors open, a whole bunch of boxes in there. And of course they're all empty, but we couldn't have people steal them. And we sell the most TVs we ever sell in those 2 weeks.
So it's kind of like your version of Black Friday.
Yeah.
Or what it is today, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. We started something, I think, because then the other people started having truck sales, and so after a while we quit having them because they weren't doing that well anymore, and the business was just getting tired, I guess, and so was I. And
how was it different too? Because I would imagine a lot of local businesses saw that same kind of change, where larger companies are coming in, they're moving into the plazas, or Arsenal Street began to develop.
Of discount stores were starting up, and they could sell them for less than I could. Mm-hmm. But of course, they didn't have free service for the first 90 days either.
Right.
Yeah. We took real good care of our customers, though, because they come back with their sons and daughters to buy them one, or relatives come buy TV.
He was surprised. One of them was Abby Hoffman,
yeah,
who was here as Barry Freed in those days.
And his girlfriend came, Lawrence
Joanna Lawrenson.
She came into the store one day and picked out a television, and I delivered it to Fineview. Of course, they had to go way down these stairs toward the water when that thing was heavy. Oh, man. And we sat there waiting for her to come back. She was supposed to come back to pay us. And I wasn't going to leave it without getting paid, but I had to. I couldn't get it back up those stairs. And we were sitting there having a beer with Barry Freed. After we left, I said, you know, that guy looks familiar.
Seen him somewhere before.
Yeah. He was a nice guy, really. We had a great talk. We had a good time with him. Yeah.
Jumping back to, or I should say really jumping ahead to today, and given the way in which you've given to local organizations or to causes that you believe in, what would you say to someone who has interest in giving back, but they really haven't done it before? They haven't demonstrated that, and they're having a tough time getting past that hurdle and doing something on their own. What would you say to encourage that person to get them to give back?
To talk to Randy.
Well, actually start small, and pick the people that you know that you like and have heard about what they do. Go see them, see what their needs are, and volunteer the money then.
Sally, have you and Harold done that before? Gone to visit the agency directly just to say, is there anything in particular we could help with?
Well, we've been to just about all of them, but we didn't talk money with them.
No.
SPCA, we picked up a cat there one time or two, and the Historical Society.
Urban Mission.
Urban Mission, we really like Urban Mission. And we like the bridge program with Sam, is it Sal?
Sal.
Yeah, Sal, he's a great guy there.
But he's leaving, and they're going to have one more, they call it Victims Panel, in November, and we're going to go to that because it'll be his last one.
Yeah, it's great to donate to a place like that is really helping people, and it might get them started on their own someday.
And we help with the Run for Recovery every year too. We
donate to that.
We help sponsor.
We're one of the big sponsors for it.
What is that experience with the bridge program, that component of the Urban Mission, meant to the two of you?
Great, really great, because our son was killed by a drunk driver, and we know that they want to prevent as many as they can from doing the same thing, but they also help the people that already have had the accidents to see their ways and change, and a lot of them they get up and speak before you, and you know very well that they've been helped a lot.
We try to tell what it's been like when it happened. Mm-hmm. And I know the last time that I talked there, I didn't tell the whole story of an episode, and I feel I should have. I didn't know if it might help somebody, but at the same time when I was talking, I don't know, I guess I felt it might not be appropriate, but there was an accident on a Super Bowl weekend, and it was just down the road from our home, and a car crashed into a tree and killed the man that was in it, and they think he had been out celebrating. And the next day we rode by, and we saw family members there sorting through all the debris on the ground, trying to find things that had belonged to.
It's the same thing we did when we went to Brian's scene, his accident scene.
And we had done that, and I found his American Legion card and other mementos. But at that one accident, we found out the man had been decapitated, and I didn't say that at the victims panel, and I don't know, the more I think about it, I kind of wish I had, because maybe that would have more of an impact on somebody. Yeah. Maybe not, I don't know. But I thought, if I speak again, maybe I'd...
We went to our son's crash scene too. Chicken wings all over, because they were going to a party, and they went outside, but they flew out of the car with him. He was holding them, and there's chicken wings all over the place. And some of you said, what card was it? Driver?
Oh, his Legion card. And other things. I can't remember if it was his.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that was tough.
Wallet. And also we heard that the Brownville Fire Department tried to help, but their first responders had worked a long time on our son. And so every year I donate to the first responders, because I always felt...
Brownville Fire Department.
And to the Brownville Fire Department, but also to the first responders, because they did try awfully hard to...
Glen Park Fire Department, Smithville Fire Department, Cape Vincent Fire Department. Did I miss one?
No, I don't think so.
They're all the ones that Well, actually, the Smithville is.
Yeah, tell him your story there.
Oh.
He won some money.
I was there. We used to go there with our daughter. They have this drawing, and you have a chance to win $10,000, and each ticket it cost $100, and so I picked a ticket and I won $100 the first time I was there, but then I didn't go back too much. Our daughter put the money in for our number. And one time she called me up on the phone. She says, well, I got something here for you. She says, I think you won something. She brings over a bag of money, $10,000 I won.
Oh, wow.
First time I ever won anything in my life. So we sent $500 back to the fire department from it.
And they were shocked because they said nobody that had won their raffle ever
Never sent them back
money
anymore.
back to
So now
them.
every year we send them $500. They're getting their money back one way or another.
How does the loss of a loved one, how did that impact the way you give?
Well, it changed our lives forever. We just don't do the happy things he used to do all the time. He used to fix everything in the house. He could do anything. And we miss that a lot. And we're missing being there. And he was just a great guy.
He could do plumbing, heating, electrical,
anything you wanted him to do.
automotive, anything.
Handy. Oh, was he ever handy?
So we
miss
had to
that.
start
But
hiring people to
the fact that somebody could watch the house when we're not there. Yeah.
And during the what was it? The
ice
ice
storm.
storm.
Was it 98?
He was there alone because we were in Florida with my mother.
That went on for a long time before he got electricity back. He'd borrow a generator. They used it part-time and give it back to him. I think it was our nephew, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And just to keep the refrigerators and going and the heat going. And he'd come back and pick it up, take it to his house, do the same thing. So they were trading this generator back and forth to keep the house from freezing and everything in the refrigerator. But we got home and the stuff in the refrigerator wasn't too good.
Well, it wasn't only that. He went around to all the country roads
collecting things
and
that fell off
he'd see
the poles.
down telephone poles and he'd collect the insulators off all the poles.
What are the collection?
When we came home, we could hardly get in the front door because the floors were covered with these insulators. But he enjoyed that. We still have the insulators.
Not all of them. I called NIMO and had them come get some of them. Well, it was NIMO then, yeah.
Well, he had big, what are those big
He had a
compressors?
transformer that came off a pole. They wanted that back.
Probably couldn't hang on to that at the house.
Oh, I don't know how he got it. He had a little workshop across the road, and I said, I wonder. He showed it to me one time. I said, well, how did you get that in there? It must weigh 500 pounds. He says, like this. He points to his head. I says, well, yeah, we didn't want it in there because it was full of that oil and everything. And we called NIMO, and they came and they had a dumpster to put all the other stuff in there. There was so much stuff that he collected. And they took that and they picked up the transformer themselves and put it in the back of a truck and took it. But all that stuff was going to another foreign country because they weren't going to reuse it. Yeah.
There's a theme that comes out when I listen to you, and I also know from knowing you personally that family has always been a very important part of your life.
Yes.
Family celebrations, time together with family. How much do you view, and in what ways do you view the things that you do now philanthropically and giving back as an extension of either your family or as a way to honor their legacy? And where do you see that going when you're no longer here?
Well, we used to throw a lot of parties at our house for people, and they'd come and we'd enjoy I used to have a big game room on the back of the house. Well, it's still there, but it's full of other stuff. And we had shuffleboard, draft beer, jukebox. The family and friends would all come over, and just like having a bar, we'd play shuffleboard and enjoy ourselves. But a lot of times we'd have parties outdoors for different events like
Their graduation.
graduation. We had a big graduation party, and we had Labor Day, July 4, all these holidays we had parties, friends, neighbors, and relatives. And we'd all get together and have a great time.
And we still get together.
We still get together
a little
on-
bit for holidays. You know, if we see there's something that we can do to help other families keep together and get together, we try to do what we can to help them do that, because I think family is important. I've seen some families where they don't treat the children right, and things aren't that good. So if we can do anything to help families get along better, you know, we'd do what we could to help.
How do we make sure that the people listening to this, whether they be high school students or college students or whomever, how do we ensure that they follow your lead, that they continue to do the things that you have found a way to do? What would you say to them? If they were in this room today, what would you say to them?
Well, things are much different than they were then. They have to be, it has to be handed down somehow.
How do we do that? How do we do that?
Well, have experience. That their parents have this, experience, and show them how their quality of life should help their children have the same quality of life. But nowadays they don't do that. They just let the kids run on their own. There's hardly any discipline. That's another thing, that we were disciplined when we screwed up.
That's right.
And they didn't bash your head or anything, but they'd tell you what you weren't going to do the next day that you wanted to do, or they took your allowance away for a week or something like that. But you don't hit them. And
what would you want those people to learn from what you've done? It's become part of your life to help others.
yeah,
What would you say to these young folks, that what it's meant to you, how it's changed your life?
well, I don't know. We feel very, very happy in our shoes.
I do have family that I think they were not brought up the best way. I think they were, give me what I can get. I have seen a lot of that firsthand, and I know it goes back to the parent, the mother. In one instance, it's the mother, but sometimes it's the parents that don't seem to care what happens with their children. I just think it's important to show people that family is very important. You can usually rely on your family.
Show them love and respect, too.
And discipline them. The ones I'm thinking of were not disciplined well.
That's the trouble today.
So if we could tell them, when you have a family of your own, show them love, respect, discipline, and to help other people when you see they need help. Don't
Right.
just walk by. I've seen videos where somebody will fall down and people just walk over them and don't pay any attention and don't even try to help them. I don't understand that. If I see somebody struggling or trying to do something and they're having problems, I would jump out and help them.
I remember when I was a kid helping an old lady cross the street. This was in the wintertime, and she was out shopping, and I wanted to make sure she got across the street all right. 'Cause I must have been about 12, 13 at the time. Yeah. I said, this poor old lady, someday I'm going to be her age, and I might need help too. and I just felt sorry for her. She didn't have anybody with her, and I helped her across. You can't ignore people if they're in trouble. You just can't do that.
And on the way over here today, there was a girl on a bicycle, and she was trying to get through traffic, and this one car, nobody would help her, and we were back too far to be able to help her, but this one car, she finally got up to the curb where she could turn right, and as she was turning right, this one car went through the light and started to turn her way, and she came awful close to getting hit. The car just went on its way, but you see an awful lot of that now.
We see a lot of people going through red lights because they don't care.
No, they don't care, and we see it all the time
Going
to Cape Vincent, especially through Chevaux,
the worst
and
drivers.
Point Peninsula. They do
come
not
off
believe
Point Peninsula, they don't believe in stopping.
And you're taking your life in your hands when you get in that area, but it seems to be everywhere.
I've seen it happen
now.
a lot.
More and more.
Yeah.
But
people just don't have any feeling for other people
no,
anymore.
they don't seem
They're
to.
a lot colder. They're not warm like back in the day where people cared about other people, but it seems like today they don't care about anybody else but themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're very selfish, rude. We've seen a lot.
Well, in thinking about the future of the area, philanthropy has really played an integral part in the development and growth of our communities over time. All the areas that you've touched on really in our conversation. How important is philanthropy and its place in the community? How important is it to the future of the North Country?
I think it's very important.
Yes,
because
I do too.
you can't, a lot of like things they want to start up, you can't just go out and get money off the street. Somebody's got to help you. Fundraisers are fine, but sometimes you don't get enough for what you need. But philanthropy can help you there. I think that's one of the best things in this country is philanthropy. There is a lot of it in this area. Because I know of a lot of people that are philanthropists here. Mm-hmm. They've helped build hospitals and libraries and everything.
And that word sometimes scares people, that word philanthropist. It sounds like you have to be, a Carnegie or a Rockefeller to be able to. Can you talk a little bit about philanthropy in terms of, in its most pure form, basically the way you've lived your life? I mean, philanthropy, in other words, your interpretation of that. What does that? What does the word mean to you?
When I was working, I could only donate small amounts, but I felt I was helping. Back in those days, it was probably considered a fair amount, but anything I could, I just felt better when I donated, even though it wasn't much. So
I remember we started out in church donating to the church, and then we donated to the March of Dimes. Mm-hmm. Then we donated to
United Way and different ones.
Well, I don't anymore. But
no,
we did, and we gave to Salvation Army, and especially the kettles.
Oh, we do that all the time.
I pull out a bunch of money and put it every store I went to, they had them out there. But we sent them a check too. But I just like to keep those people happy.
And I don't like to hear people complain about their
bell,
the bell or whatever.
A lot of stores won't want them out front.
But these people are standing out there in the freezing cold, trying to raise a little bit of money.
They're helping people that need help. So that's what I like.
You've been doing giving for a long time, and then, recently discovered the Community Foundation a little more and got to know us a little more, and you. Where has that fit in your philanthropy, and how has that helped you?
Oh my
both?
gosh, tremendously. Our son's scholarships were just sitting in a bank earning nothing. and we kept after our daughter because she was
in
taking
her account.
she was in charge of it, and just trying to get her to do something with it and try to get it to the community foundation where it would be in perpetuity. It was a chore, but we did finally get it there, and it just makes me feel great that I know it's always going to be there, and will always help somebody, both the scholarships and to me it's helped with a lot of the other organizations to know which ones need more help, where we can help the best. I think it's been very important.
We like animal rescue people.
Yeah.
Because we just love animals. And of course, then we do the ones that like people.
Yeah.
We give them more.
Oh yeah.
It's been quite an experience in our lives to be able to do what we're doing.
Oh yes.
Because we started with scratch, and now we're pretty good.
How important is it to you to know that the things that you care about now can go on when you're not able to do it yourselves?
It's a great relief to me.
What's that?
A great relief to know that Brian's scholarships will be carried on.
There's more organization to it.
And the other things that you really care about can still be supported. It
makes money for itself, and it's being supported by other income from it. So we're able to give scholarships out to more people this way.
Help more people.
Yeah.
I was asked this question of all the folks that we've talked to, and I think it's important, and don't be humble when I ask this question, but both of you answer this individually. How do you want to be remembered?
Do I need to be remembered?
Oh, I don't know if I...
Okay, let me ask a different question then. If I was to ask you to fill in the blank of this question, 3 words. Sally LaHollier is, Harold is these 3 things. How would you answer that question about yourself?
In 3 words?
Take your time.
Well, giving,
friendly,
helping,
loving, considerate.
Well, I'd say that's how you want to be remembered, and I
respectful.
think yeah.
Well, your story is a perfect example of how anyone with the heart to give can make a difference in any community. And we hope the listeners can take away a lesson or 2 from what you shared and apply it to their lives. So Harold and Sally, we appreciate your time and your story and being on the podcast with us. Northern New York Community Podcast. Stories from the heart of our community.